So we have trade, we have Brexit, we've got all kinds of stories here getting fast-moving developments out of the UK, where the Prime Minister, as we told you, Theresa May, said she is determined to see Brexit through because the people voted for it, despite numerous resignations within her government right now. Businesses and trade groups seem on board with the latest Brexit deal, but the pound plummeted earlier. It's kind of found a little better footing here, but not by much. $1.27 will buy you a British pound. So right now we're looking at a very weak pound at the moment. And you can see with the British banks, most of them are getting crushed at the moment. Barclays down 5%. Look at Royal Bank of Scotland down 9.33%. So the markets here in the U.S., though, actually like what they're seeing overseas. When you combine Brexit and you combine the news possibly on China, should investors kind of take this ball and run with it or be cautious? To the floor show and traders at the New York Stock Exchange and the CME Group. Sarge, I'm going to start with you at the NYSE. You were writing early this morning about Brexit. Tell me how you've changed your view since Theresa May came out a couple of hours ago and said, don't worry, we're getting a Brexit. It just won't be the exact Brexit that a lot of people envision.
Well, it appears that Theresa May has failed to lead the British people to some kind of independence. I find this, while it's better short-term for trading, for investment, everyone's going to be happy about that for the time being. I find it somewhat troubling because I've got to tell you, as an American, it would annoy me. It would not more than annoy me. It would make me violent to see my flag subordinated to that of another. So I really have to feel somewhat for those Royal Marines I worked with back in the mid-'80s. I think it's a serious problem. I don't think the British people will stand for anything less than a clean break. And I think she's got to go try again, either that or bring in someone like Boris Johnson who will.
But Phil, a clean break could be very devastating for the markets. I don't need to get into that because we've got an entire panel coming up on that's going to articulate how devastating. But do you find it interesting to see that we have a very positive reaction in the markets, or are you attributing that to what the Trump administration might do, and that is hold off on future tariffs against China at the moment?
Yeah, I definitely think most of this is about the Trump administration, about this China thing. That has been the biggest pall hanging over the market. We hear it from everybody, you know, business leaders, the Fed,
Hold
and
on,
any
Phil.
sign that we're going to see a breakthrough.
I got to interrupt you because apropos of this, we are just finding out from our Edward Lawrence, who is in D.C. He's saying in response to that story from the Financial Times that future possible tariffs on the additional $267 billion in Chinese goods would be on hold. No, Ambassador Lighthizer has made no representations to industry executives. The plan for the tariffs is covered in all this gobbledygook. Any reports to the contrary are incorrect. So much for that report. Market here. The Dow is up 133. Let's see if it starts to lose ground.
Shh, don't tell anybody. I mean, what is that?
Don't
No. I mean, what's going on here? Come on. No, this is
you want to know why the market's
crazy.
Higher, Phil?
I don't know. Pardon me? Yeah, I mean, I love the
market is higher because Raphael Bostic reads Market Recon every morning. That's why the market is higher.
That's it. He's got to read your blog, too. It's the only way that we can see our way through the day. No, honestly, you know, I mean, obviously the China situation is creating a lot of volatility. What's happening with Brexit is big. But, you know, the Brexit thing, it reminds me of Dallas, the TV show, right? You know, it keeps dying, it comes back, as the character dies, you know, Theresa May is gone, and then she's back the next season. You know, you listen, if we, you know, everybody, you know, be careful of what you ask for. A sharp break would be beautiful in the real world. But the ramifications it's going to have across the European banking system is going to be unbelievable. But then at the same time, Europe feels like they have to pay ransom to get out of this deal.
So you've got Europe, you've got conflicting reports, and now Robert Lighthizer saying, don't believe what you heard. Don't look at that shiny object that the Financial Times put out. Larry, with so many concurrent cross currents, I guess, do you stay out of a market like this? Just hold on, because at the lows of the session, the Dow was down 295, at the highs up 274. That's just in one session.
No, you can't stay out of the market. I mean, coast is clear investing never works. And right now we're in a very tentative market. It doesn't take much at all for people to de-risk. And what happened this morning was ironic, because before I went to bed, the pound was up at 130, and now we're down 1.5%. But what was ironic about that was that while the pound was up, gilt curve was also steepening. Credit spreads were widening out. Swap rates were rising, sending a very mixed message, very confusing. But don't get out, because coast is clear investing is really a bad strategy.
You know what? I like that. That's sort of on the one hand, on the other hand. Take a position. Great to have all of you guys. And I need everybody to be watching the lower ticker here because it is on the move. Steve, Larry, and Phil, we really appreciate it.